Jaipur has always been a city of entrepreneurs, whether it's startups like Car Dekho and Minimalist, or traditional businesses like Raghav Productivity Enhancer and Dynamic Cables. Jaipur has been a breeding ground for success stories. I have spoken about all of these businesses and their success stories in my previous videos. But over the last few weeks, I have been meeting a different set of founders, people who are building in the exact sectors the whole world is bullish on right now: AI, EV, and deep tech. And what's interesting is that all of these founders chose Jaipur as their base, going against conventional advice to build from tier 1 cities for such complex sectors. In this video, I want to talk about these three startups, what they are building, and the niche they have identified in these complex and popular sectors. I'm sure the stories of these startups will not only inspire you but also give you some insight into how you can identify a niche in a somewhat overcrowded space and build a business. So let's get started. The first sector is artificial intelligence. And honestly, there is really no debate left about AI. No matter whether we call it a bubble or not, AI is here to stay, and going forward, more and more AI startups will come. Now I know what you're thinking. The moment most people hear AI startup, they think it's yet another chatbot, or another SaaS tool, or maybe yet another LLM wrapper. And I agree, such startups have got massive limelight in the past and of course massive valuations. But such startups are on the surface. Go a little deeper and you will find AI startups solving real problems, from disease diagnosis to cancer research to space exploration and much more. One such startup is Aignosis. What they have built is simple AI-powered tool that can screen for early signs of autism in children in just about 5 minutes, using nothing more than just a webcam. This kind of solution would have taken a long time and would be expensive and stressful both for the child and the parents. Due to this, families end up losing precious years in that early development window. What Aignosis has done is take the entire process and make it fast, affordable, and yet accessible. And this is the kind of AI that genuinely excites me. Not another flashy consumer app, but a quiet, overlooked problem that, when solved, can change the entire life trajectory of a child and, at a national scale, actually give us healthier and more capable next generation. The second sector is EV, or electric vehicles. Just like AI, EV is here to stay. The shift to EVs is no longer a question of if, it is now only a question of how fast. Now, most founders who enter the EV space end up chasing the same obvious models: a consumer app, a charging network business. A few brave ones go into building indigenous hardware, but that is long, heavy game that needs tons of capital, permissions, and policy alignment. So, on the one side, EV looks completely overcrowded, and on the other side, it looks too complex to even enter. But it is exactly in this gap that the real opportunities are still hiding. And a Jaipur-based startup called BikeSetu has found one such opportunity. Instead of burning capital to build a vehicle from scratch or fighting it out in the crowded consumer app space, BikeSetu runs electric vehicles at scale, largely for last mile delivery and mobility. And the smart part is that they've kept the model asset light. So instead of blocking huge capitals by owning every vehicle, they have kept the cash expenses low, which lets the whole model scale much faster and stay more efficient. And in fact, this is where a tier 2 city like Jaipur quietly works in their favor. See, most large EV companies have to be based out of tier 1 cities simply because that is where the specialized talent is. But for a model like BikeSetu, the real advantage is cost, and that is what a city like Jaipur gives you. So, the whole combination, an asset-light model, low on cash burn, and run out of tier 2 city, is exactly the kind of opportunity most founders never even stop to look at. And the third sector, the one I personally find most exciting, is deep tech. While it's the hardest sector to build in and is a real long-term game, I believe some of these most valuable companies of next decade are going to come from here. One such space in deep tech that seems to be crowded is drones. Right now, almost every company in this space is trying to build indigenous hardware for one use case or another. But a Jaipur-based startup called Kapxha Dynamics has taken a very different route. Instead of building one more drone startup, they are building the mind that runs it. See, today, most drones are still remote controlled and have a deploy at scale limitation. Now, this is a sensitive area to speak about. But for now, all I can tell you is Kapxha is building that cognitive layer that sits on top of the hardware and turns these machines from a remote control device into semi-autonomous and eventually fully autonomous systems. And this is actually a very smart place to position yourself, because instead of competing in the overcrowded race of building drones, they are building the intelligence layer that all that hardware will eventually need to run on. So while most founders are busy fighting over the hardware, Kapxha has quietly gone after the intelligence that everything else will one day depend on. So now, if you look at all three startups carefully, you will find one common thread that ties them together. None of them chose the obvious path in the crowded sector. And this is the biggest takeaway I want to leave you with. When a sector becomes hot, most founders rush towards the most obvious opportunity in it. And this is exactly when the competition is highest and the differentiation is the lowest. But the founders who actually win are the ones who go one level deeper and find the overlooked, harder niche sitting inside the same popular sector. Because a crowded sector does not mean that opportunity is gone. It usually just means the obvious opportunity is taken and the real one is sitting quietly one layer beneath. Now, some of you might be thinking that the sectors are already crowded, overhyped, valuations are high, raising funds is difficult, and maybe you are late. Well, that's a fair concern. But, like I said, these technologies and sectors are here to stay. The simplest example I can give you is the dot-com era. While the crash happened, things later went back to normal, and almost everything we use today was built on top of the internet. So, to sum it up, don't worry about sectors. Rather, look for opportunities and pain points that have not been solved yet. Furthermore, geography is no longer a limitation today. In the internet era and now with AI, your smartest team member is just a click away. I hope you found this video insightful and that I was able to give you a fresh perspective on how to look at these sectors and opportunities within them. But more than that, now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what are you building and which opportunity or pain point are you going after? I would genuinely love to read what you have to share. And if you found this video helpful, do like it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one.